Welcome everybody to Netcapital's live Q&A with Promoshare. We have the CEO, Ernie, with us today. Ernie, thanks for joining.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course. So thanks for everyone who's attending live, and of course, anyone who's watching via the recording. Thanks for taking the time. If anyone throughout this event has any questions for Ernie about Promoshare or even about Netcapital, feel free, if you're watching live, there's a Q&A function in Zoom. You can ask your questions there, and I'll get to them as quickly as I can. And if you're watching a recording, you can always post questions to Promoshare's discussion board on their Netcapital page, and Ernie will get right to you on answering those. For people watching live, I'm going to put into the chat here a link to Promoshare's offering page so that you can check out where they are on Netcapital. And for people watching a recording, you'll be able to find the link to that page in the description of this video. And so as a reminder to everybody, Promoshare is currently raising capital on Netcapital, and anyone can invest. So go take a look, and if it's interesting to you, listen to Ernie and ask him any questions you have. So with that, again, Ernie, we appreciate you taking the time to inform us about Promoshare.
Absolutely, excited about it.
Yeah, so just to kick things off, to set the stage, can you give us just a brief overview of what Promoshare is and kind of what you do?
Absolutely. So Promoshare works with major brands, sports teams, and live event producers. What we do is we help them generate revenue, loyalty, and engagement through hyper-local communities of customers and fans. That is the high level overview of what we do. But essentially, we run scalable word of mouth campaigns, right? And what separates us from other word of mouth and micro influencer platforms is that we go extremely deep in the level of analytics and segmentation of the ambassadors, and we capture all data from onboarding, engagement, all the way through capturing sales conversions. So, being from the marketing, tech space myself, and having worked in this area for over 15 years, the experience we had and some of the pain points that we felt as a customer and running a lot of these campaigns is what brought us to founding Promoshare. So that's how we're positioning ourselves right now, and we've had a pretty incredible start to our product.
That's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to digging in kind of deeper and digging into all these cool features. Before we get started on the product itself, can you talk to me a little bit about the team you've put together, kind of who you guys are, what the background is, why you think that team will be successful?
Absolutely. So I'll start with myself. I have 15 plus years of direct marketing, data, tech experience, working with some pretty big brands like AT&T, Best Buy, Walmart, on the event side with Feld Entertainment, which is the largest family entertainment company in the world, still, Major League Baseball. And with a lot of these brands, what we're doing is lining them up with hyperlocal communities, right? So we weren't looking at marketing kind of in a global space. We're looking at it at a very market, and even within that market, very granular and grassroots. So that's my experience, right? And my co-founder on the tech side, Raimundo Ginaz, he same thing. He's got close to 20 years of UX UI experience working with Cars.com, rolling out the Walgreens app. So he's got a lot of consumer behavioral and predictive modeling experience. So we're doing some really cool things right now with our tech, thanks to him. We actually added a new member to our tech team, Francisco Carrillo. He's got like 20 plus years. He came from Expedia, Orbitz, Vivid Seats, So he was a great add-on. And then we have Julia Fisher from the operations side. She was at Yahoo for a while on the analytics team. She also worked with TechCo, which is essentially acquired, and TechCo was a platform for startups to collaborate with other startups and meet investors and mentors and so on and so forth. So she's been great. That's our core team. Aside from that, we have some amazing advisors and investors already that are former NFL football players, former college football standouts that have gone back to work at the universities. A PepsiCo former head of purchasing at PepsiCo. We just added a couple of advisors. One that I won't say who he is yet, but he's a former publisher at a major sports magazine. So we're being very strategic on our advisors and our investors now too, just because we need to position ourselves very well for the next steps of Promoshare. And I think I mentioned to you before we started recording, we're very close to closing our lead investment round. So we really got to hit the ground running, and we got to make sure that we're positioned to do that. So we're being very careful with who we bring on, to the team.
Sounds like a really exciting team you put together. For some of these early investors you found and advisors, kind of how have you gone about finding them and kind of getting them involved?
So part of it has been through my experience and relationships that I had previously, right? So these are folks that were clients of mine, or I might have co-invested in something that they did. So that's where it got started. Now, some of the later advisors were introductions that were made, by either another advisor or a friend. Hey, this is what I've got going on. This is what we're looking for. And then someone's light bulb goes off and they say, you know what, I know so-and-so, this is who you got to meet, and tell them about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And, so, I mean, we've also talked to some individuals that, were not so interested, right? But I would say that the main reason was timing. Sometimes an advisor is like, well, what's the time commitment? Others get really excited and they say, I know exactly who to go to with this. I know exactly who I need to talk to, whether it's an investor or a client, or, another advisor, right? So you really got to know what you're looking for. That's the key. So the ask is very direct. So, if you know somebody that has a lot of relationships in a certain area, you say, hey, I'm looking to tap your network. That's exactly what I want you for. And they'll either say yes or no.
That makes sense. And that's exciting. And you've got an exciting group of people around you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we start thinking about the product itself, before we get there, can you talk to me a little bit about what was the problem you identified that got this team together that you're trying to solve?
I'll prior to Promoshare, my previous company, one of the things that we were doing is we were helping companies, like I had mentioned, like AT&T and Walmart, partner with, these like hyperlocal communities. And hyperlocal communities, look like, someone, right? So we're talking about like, Hispanic market, urban market, Asian, or moms, different, ethnic groups, different, income levels, so on and so forth, right? So when we first started, and we started with pro sports and live events, what we were doing prior to Promoshare is we were helping a lot of these organizations launch Hispanic night at the ballpark, or teacher night and plumber night and Elvis night and so on and so forth. And what we were doing is we were helping them identify market size and where you know, and how they can engage and partnering with different organizations, right? So at that point, we were already kind of thinking like we need to put together a software that's going to manage all these groups, you know, and help grow it, right? So at the time, you know, we still weren't thinking this far along, but finally, when we decided to launch Promoshare, that's when we said, okay, we're going to take all that experience, and the problem that we're looking to solve was to allow these not just sports teams, live events, but brands to manage all these communities, and it could be an unlimited amount of communities, right? Have content for them to distribute different, you know, as many versions as they want, and set up different, you know, position us to capture that conversion, right? Because we want to know that Rob converted, you know, for AT&T, and his friends are buying, you know, iPhone 12s based on the content that Rob is distributing. Okay, and we capture all the analytics and behaviors off of, you know, your network, yourself, and so on and so forth. So then that way the machine starts working, the AI starts kicking in, machine learning starts kicking in, and at the end of the day, we're able to report back to the client, you know, on all these activities. And there really wasn't anything necessarily like that. There's word of mouth platforms, yes, but not with that type of level of analytics. You know, so that's essentially what we built is something that went through that entire life cycle.
Really, that's exciting. It's interesting. So talk to me. That's, you know, it's a perfect segue into like the platform itself, right? So from the very basics, talk to me about like what is the product itself.
So I'll run you through a scenario, right? So we're running a campaign right now for a major pizza chain, right? And this pizza chain normally doesn't have an individual or any kind of major influencer that represents their brand, right? So when we first went to them, they were kind of like, "Oh, you're an influencer platform." We're like, "No, we're not an influencer platform. We're going to utilize people that are your customers in your market to be brand advocates, right?" And when they finally bought in, one of the questions they asked is, you know, we have different segments in this market that we need to increase engagement with, right? Which is Polish, Spanish speaking, you know, and in certain economic groups. And they said, can we segment, you know, these campaigns all kind of in one, you know, centralized location, and we show them how we do that. And so then they provide us offers, and we'll call them, you know, coupons, right? Once we have a brand advocate on the platform, behind the scenes, each individual is treated as an affiliate. So their content that they distribute, there's code that's embedded into that content, okay? And to ensure that whether if it's texted, emailed, so it's online, offline, that at the end of the day, that individual is going to get credit for any sales made off of their content. Okay, so what we were doing is Promoshare also has a very fluid rewards system built into it. So we can motivate conversion through rewards, right? So in this case, the advocates were getting rewarded based on how much conversion was being made off of their content. And these advocates see that. We gamified it so then that way they could get motivated and excited every time, you know, their friend or family or coworkers are buying off of their content. And they see, oh, wow, if I sell one more pizza, or one of my other friends buys another pizza, or maybe I buy it, I get an extra $25, or I get, you know, this experience, or I get that reward. So, you know, there's that piece of it that's very exciting, is the motivated conversion piece. So at the end of the day, our customers, they see all their data in real time, and they see how each segment is performing. But within those segments, they see how each individual ambassador is performing. And we built it so that this is an ongoing thing. It's not something they say, okay, it's a one campaign and we're done. No, now they have all this rich data, and they've increased the number of advocates on it. So now what do? They, in a way, they're kind of forced to keep these campaigns going. And we ran a pilot for them beginning of the year, and it outperformed direct mail, door hangers, coupon clipper type stuff, which is the biggest amount of money that they spend, for these local stores. So it's exciting for Promoshare that we outperform them, right? So people always ask, well, who are you disrupting, or what is disrupting? Well, it depends what vertical it is. In this case, for this large global pizza chain, it's, the ad spend that they're doing somewhere else, we're outperforming. So, we're looking for them to shift that over our way. So the product, that's how it looks.
And talk me through like the customer journey on the kind of brand side, right? Like, so in this case, it sounds like the example you were giving was kind of a local pizza shop, right? Like, how does that work?
It's a local in the sense that, I'll give you the name. It's Dominos Pizza.
Okay.
So Dominos Pizza, their concern was we can't have influencers because their reach is very broad. And we said, no, we don't have influencers. We're working with brand advocates in your market that are your customers, that know your brand and love it, right? So what they did is they provided us a list of customers based on location or, number of times they order, and they segmented the list. They provided it, to us. We invited those people onto the campaign, and we capped the number of people. So we normally handle all that for enterprise type clients. And then the advocates, once they're on, are given a quick little brief of what they're to do, what they're supposed to do. Software is very easy to navigate through, so it's easy for them to distribute content. So once they start distributing content and adding their layer of content above that, you start seeing all the stats come in, engagement stats and views and shares, and then conversions as well. Because what we did is we matched the coupon codes to what Domino's can scan. So in that way, once they do that, the ambassador gets rewarded for those sales.
And so in this case, it sounded like Domino's maybe gave you the influencer they wanted to work with. Normally for influencers, kind of how are you finding those people, or how does that work?
So we do have a prospecting tool that we offer. And it all depends on who the customer is, right? So who they're looking for. So we're working with a CBD company now that's new. They're coming into the market, and we're working with them in 6 different areas. They have no list. We have a makeup of who, their ideal customer is, right? So we have the ability then to invite, as many individuals based on, a bunch of different factors: age, gender, ethnicity, language preference, and we see what their reach is, right? So the CBD company, same thing. It's they can only market certain things in certain markets, because it's not going to, if it gets too broad, then it's not available in certain areas. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to drive local foot traffic to certain dispensaries and places where they're selling. So we do provide a network if they don't have one.
And so for the influencer side of things, like if I wanted to be an influencer, like how big a reach do I need to have to make it either worth my time or worth the time of the kind of enterprise clients?
Right. So that's the thing, is that we get a ton of inbound inquiries from influencers that want to work with Promoshare. The thing is, our clients don't want to work with professional influencers. They want to work with people that are their customers and are their fans, and people that are passionate about their brand, people that have order pizza from them once or twice a week. Those are the ones that, because their impact and conversion rates can be so much higher working with those people than it is with somebody who is coming off too flashy. Now, our customers, a lot of let's talk about pre-COVID, a lot of them being live events and sports producers. It does them no good that somebody has a big reach, because 90% of that reach is going to be outside of their market. So they're paying for a lot of waste, and again, the conversion may not be there. So it's the same exact concept working with, even if we're working with the big brand. A new one that we're working with right now is Provision. It hasn't launched yet. We're working on it, but they have a ton of franchisees, a ton of locations all over the country, but each one has to be handled individually. So, how do you do that so it doesn't spill over into different, markets or areas and so on and so forth, right? So we're working with, people that love the brand, that know it, are happy about it, and many of the times they're giving us like a sample, and we're partnering them with lookalikes, So, but again, we're looking for people that. So usually when we reach out to somebody and we're, hey, we want to invite you to be part of this campaign, we said, oh yeah, I love Domino's Pizza. Oh yeah, I've been a Provision. So we're partnering with people that are that recognize their brand.
And are these influencers typically people who are doing it for kind of coupons, credit for the store, I get a couple free pizzas, or are they actually doing it for cash as well? Or is it something that even if they're good enough, they might be able to make a living off of, or is this really kind of
right? That's where we're heading. Is we're heading to the paid. We do have the ability to do that now. We just haven't done it. People are doing it right now for gift cards, free tickets, experiences, that type of stuff. So, but we haven't yet started paying people yet for that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so, you've mentioned Domino's and Provision. Can you talk about some of the other kind of brands or types of companies you're working with?
Yeah, so we're also working with Aetna Healthcare right now. There's also like a ton of more local brands. There's a plant-based tea company that we just onboarded. They're out of the Midwest. They just got picked up by Whole Foods. So they tried influencer marketing. It was really expensive. Didn't have the type of impact they wanted. So we're excited to be working with them, and we think we're going to make an impact. And right now, our sales pipeline is full with deals that we're looking to be closing before the end of the year. Some of the major brands are going to be starting in 2021. Some of the smaller ones we're working on now, and we're looking to still add some more to close the year out. So Provision is one that will be starting this year. We'll be relaunching the Domino's campaign in 2021. Tropicana Juice is a new one that's starting in 2021. We're also working with some automotive dealers. That'd be towards the end of this year. We've got oh my God, their name is, they're the WeatherMat company. They're actually out of the Chicagoland area. They're pretty. WeatherTech is their company. So there's, we've got quite a bit of business that has replaced the live event customers that we had. But we're looking to definitely, once the world starts kind of coming back to normal, still be positioned to work with our live events, especially since the beginning of this year, we became an official partner of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that. So, I think it's probably relevant to a lot of people watching to understand. So I know the kind of original core of the business was around live events. And so can you talk about a little bit about how you've pivoted and how the business is different now in a COVID world, and kind of how what you're doing now and what you might be able to do in the future.
Yeah, so the crazy thing is that we necessarily didn't pivot. We just accelerated working with some of these other brands sooner than further down the road. And so nothing has changed as far as our plans with the technology. We're now, we got to change all this stuff because, we need to pivot. So it's not necessarily a pivot. It was just more or less a change in who we're working with at the time. But the relationship with Major League Baseball, we had been working with some teams prior to our integration with them, and we needed to rally enough teams to want to work with us in order for Major League Baseball's advanced media to even pay attention to us. And then at that point, have something novel. They're like, there has to be something that no other partner there is offering. So, because then they're like, well, why do we want another integrated partner? We want to make it easy for our teams to do business with vendors. We don't want to just add another vendor just to add another vendor. So we built our case for them around, working with these communities and the level of analytics and flexibility that we're bringing to the teams, because there was other companies that had some overlap, and they were kind of putting us in the group buying kind of segment within. They're like, well, you're kind of similar to this company. Like, no, we're different in this case. We stated our case why, and how at the end of the day was going to bring more revenue to the teams and to them, because that's at the end of, that's what matters. Everybody wants to make money, so it's like, okay, how are you going to make us money? And so we did that. So we went through the whole diligence process with MLB and Major League Baseball's advanced media. You'd think that they were investing in our company. That was the type of diligence that they did. And then they did a pretty deep dive into our tech stack, and we passed that. And then once we went through all that, they invited us to be an integrated partner. What that means is that now when we go and sell to any major league team, minor league team, and over 300 partners of theirs that are outside of baseball, the data that's collected is all in, it flows from our platform or their platform back to our platform all seamlessly. So, if we weren't integrated, there would be a disconnect in how data is transferred back. So there would be, it wouldn't be a closed loop. We would be doing stuff on our platform, then sending them some sort of downloaded report to them for them to view, then sending them us, send it back. Nobody wants to do that. So now that we're integrated, it makes it so much easier, and we're a vetted partner. So the idea is once fans are allowed back in the stands, is we're positioned now to bring on all this business a lot easier. But you know what? The thing with COVID, it actually helped us in a way, because even MLB told us, they're like, don't expect to get a lot of business this year from the teams. This is prior to COVID, before anybody knew COVID was the thing. Like it's you're probably going to spend this year going around meeting everybody, finding out who you need to talk to, and doing all that stuff. So don't expect for it to be a windfall in business. So when COVID came, and at first we were like, crap, this is really going to hurt us. But no, it actually helped us, because guess what? Everybody we needed to talk to wasn't doing anything. They were like, yeah, I'm available. Let's talk. Let's, show us what you do. Let's do a demo. Let's do all this other stuff. So it actually worked out. So what we did is we actually pre-sold a lot into 2021, hoping that, and everybody's hopeful that in 2021, whether it's limited or not limited, that fans will be able to be in the stands. I mean, they did it for the World Series, right? So, we're hopeful that we'll be able to do that in 2021.
And that's sorry, and that's exciting that you've been able to turn it into an opportunity, and not just get slowed down. So, if I am either a brand or an influencer and I want to get signed up, if I want to do it, kind of, what are the steps? How do I do that? How do I join? How do I?
Yeah. So right now, we're people go to our website, promoshare.com, contact us. That's how all the communication is coming up. Our new website's going to be up in about 2 weeks. It's a lot more dynamic, and there'll be some demo reels there, and we'll have a lot more info. But anybody go to promoshare.com now and request more info.
Exciting. So, and if anyone does need more info or has any questions, definitely feel free to ask them in the chat here, or post on Promoshare's Netcapital page. Switching a little bit, Ernie, let's talk about the business model. How does Promoshare make money? What does it look like?
So for our non-event clients, we have a licensing fee, a yearly licensing fee. And it's as low as like $2.99 a month, and it goes up to several thousand a month depending on the enterprise level client. So we have a monthly licensing fee that's done. It's a yearly commitment, and that depends on the number of campaigns the company wants to run throughout that year. Number of ambassadors, whether or not we're bringing ambassadors to the table, so that's how essentially we make money, right? On the event side, it's a licensing model plus a revenue share. So there's a revenue share model on that. Now, we were actually one of our newest advisors. Was asking us, what do we plan to do with all the data and stuff that we're collecting? And, even at our early stage right now, you kind of already see the trend of where certain things are going and the types of data that we're collecting. And, there's a huge opportunity to obviously, sell that data down the road or get acquired for that data, but in a short, way to answer your question is how we make money is we make money, by licensing our software, right? And yearly contracts.
Yeah, that's got to be a nice recurring revenue model. So, and it's yearly sign up? Is it paid monthly? So
no, it's paid
upfront.
Yeah, it's paid upfront. I mean, I'm not gonna,
sure.
There's it's paid upfront, but have we had clients that said we need to break this up? Absolutely.
Sure, and that seems like a very
I'm not gonna say no.
practice.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say no. But yeah, I mean it's majority of the time it's paid upfront. We have some clients that have to break it up for whatever reason, and we work with them.
That's great. And so, talk to me. How big is the market for Promoshare? How big do you see this opportunity being?
Yeah, I mean it's. I'll be honest with you. I could blurb out like billions of dollars, right? So it depends on one vertical, right? We're working on. So if we're talking about live events, that market size just got bigger, and you know what, the opportunity to capture some of that market size also just got bigger, because I'm not going to mention names. There's a handful of pretty big players in the space that are going to be announcing that they're closing their doors because of COVID. And it's sad because they're great companies, great technologies. They've been around for a long time, and hundreds of employees, perhaps thousands collectively are going to be unemployed, which at the end of the day presents a huge opportunity for us. But ultimately, you're looking at a 15 or 20 $1 billion market opportunity collectively when we're talking about word of mouth marketing, live event, ticketing space. So it's a big opportunity. But our 4 to 5 year plan is to grow our business to 50 million plus, right? The only way that any of us make any money is on an exit. So folks that have already invested, whether it's through our directly to us or through Netcapital, it's like that's where everybody's going to make their money, right, on that windfall, and we're positioning it, so that way we're positioned to have an exit in, 3 to 5 years, and everybody makes, a huge multiple on their money, so yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and I know it's speculative, and I know startups are risky, and it's always hard to predict, right? But do you have a sense of who are potential acquisition targets? Kind of what's the plan along those lines, or is
Yeah,
it too early to say?
so there's I won't mention names, right? But the funny thing is that we had already been approached by a company earlier this year, and they thought they were a lot bigger than we were. Like, no, we're a startup, but because we apparently had rattled the cages, right, within some organizations. But we see larger influencer companies that essentially are going to want to get into the word of mouth space, brand advocate space. You've got some companies that have raised over $100 million already. Other companies that may be interested, not necessarily in the function of what we're doing, but are interested in the result of it, right? And we're talking about like the data and all the consumer data, and there may be some technology pieces that they're interested in, right? But so we looked at some of those companies. I actually about 10 years ago, I had an exit with a company that I helped with in the very early stages, which was a data company. And so, I have some pretty deep knowledge into companies that are interested in acquiring companies for their data. But then there's also very large agencies out there. And then there's also the private equity route. So.
That's great. And we just had one question from attendees so far, and is if this recording will be shared. If you're watching this being via recording, that's pretty obvious that yes, it is. For anyone who's watching live, we do plan, it's being recorded now. We're going to email it to all registered attendees, and it'll be posted to YouTube. So you'll be able to rewatch this and dig into all of Ernie's answers. If there are any other questions, please feel free to put them in. We're coming towards the back half of our questions for sure, coming up towards the end here. Want to make sure we get anyone's questions in who we need to. But while we're waiting, so Ernie, talk to us all about the progress you've made so far in the company, and what are the next major milestones that you're looking to accomplish?
So we, 2019 was our first official year. That's what we launched with clients, right? And the clients that we launched with were Feld Entertainment. Like I mentioned, they were the largest family entertainment company in the world, right? With their Disney and Ice brand, Monster Jam, Marvel Universe Live, Jurassic Park. And we also worked with some Major League Baseball teams, some venues. So we were able to get an early iteration of our product that was functional in live, in a live environment, live production environment in 2019. So we generated about 220,000 roughly in revenue for Promoshare in 2019, of which our brand advocates generated over $500,000 in sales for our customers, of credited sales back to ambassadors in 2019. So in 2020, we hit the ground running just like we did in 19, and we started making more development changes. Since we're for the most part bootstrapped, and we raised a little bit of money from some of our friends and some of our network, revenue is coming into the business is going right back into the business. So development is constantly ongoing, and so in 2020 started, and we're very excited about this partnership with MOB. Excited to continue to add clients, both on and outside of the event space. And then obviously COVID hit, and that stalled everything event wise. But we then continued, hustling and trying to fill that gap with non-event related customers, right? So we then, I know we were scheduled to start our campaign much sooner with Netcapital, but because of COVID, we're like, let's stall it, right? And then we also stalled our investment initiatives outside of Netcapital. So finding our, we're raising $1 million round in total, which means that most likely we would need to identify a lead investor. So now, fast forward, we started that initiative again end of August, and right now we're in negotiations with the lead investor, lead VC out of Chicago, and doing this, what I'm doing here now every day, multiple times a day with angel groups and VCs, angel investors, and clients and advisors. So right now we're looking at a minimum matching our revenue for 2019 in 2020. So that kind of says a little bit about our grit, right? When it came down to selling, because we lost about, I would say about 50% of our revenue, because we had captured some revenue, prior to COVID in the live event space. But we made some of that up by finding some new verticals and some new customers. So at the beginning of 2021, we'll be 100% on a new platform that we've been working on the last several months. We're doing some testing on now. That's very exciting, because that brings a whole another level of what we're doing, on the analytics side and really on our workflow and automation to our clients. So that, in a nutshell, is what we've got going on.
Sounds like 2021 is going to be a busy year for you guys.
Yeah, we're hoping. That's the plan.
Well, as we come towards the end of our time, I wanted to ask you a fun question. So as we, when we're all able to get back out and go to big live events and stuff, any live events you're particularly looking forward to when it's all safe to go back and be together again?
I'm a huge baseball fan, and I've got 3 kids. My daughter, she's 13, and I got 2 boys. My son Ernie, who's 10, and he'll be 11 next week, and my other boy Max, who's 8. And my 2 boys play a lot of baseball. My daughter is an ice skater, it's just baseball to me, and growing up going to baseball games and stuff, that has always been very nostalgic. So that's one of the things. And there's also some concerts that I would like to check out, but I think baseball is the main one.
That feels like an appropriate answer for today and just in general. I think we're all a little nostalgic for live sports or music or any of those events. And I'm looking forward to Ernie. Hopefully, when we all are able to get back out there, hopefully Promoshare can be a large part of helping people kind of find events and get out to do fun things.
Absolutely. And we're going to be right there ready for that.
That's awesome. Well, I think this is a great place to wrap it up. Ernie, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us, to answer questions. Thanks to all the attendees and for asking some questions. And if there's any additional questions, please post them on Promoshare's Netcapital page. Ernie, if you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, thanks for having me. Anybody ever want to get in contact with me directly, you could do so at Ernie@promoshare.com.
That's great. All right, Ernie. Well, thanks. Thanks everyone for attending. Everyone stay safe out there.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care.